Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to talk about some of the camera and video equipment I've been using over the last couple of years to create my videos. I often find when I'm watching other people's channels I'm wondering what sort of equipment they're using. So I thought if anyone was curious I'd talk about the various bits of equipment I've accumulated over the last couple of years. So first of all, I've got the Sony ZV-1. Now, I actually bought this camera to do acting self-tapes. Before I was a YouTuber, I was an amateur actor, so I bought this to do various auditions and self-tapes with. Or failing so, that I put them all into a jealousy so strong that judgment cannot cure. Which thing to do? Well, it was fun while it lasted, but I decided to move on to vlogging. And the ZV-1 is actually primarily a vlogging camera. That's what it was designed and built for. So the main strengths of the ZV-1 is it's obviously very compact and lightweight. It weighs about 300 grams. It's got a very high quality 1-inch sensor, which means it produces video and photos of similar quality to a full frame camera without interchangeable lenses. Of course, you've got the fixed lens, but the 1-inch sensor means it's really good in low light conditions. Now, I'm not an expert photographer by any means, so I tend to use the intelligent auto modes with all the cameras that I use. I just basically put it on idiot mode and let the camera decide what settings to use. And so this ZV-1 proves to be very competent when it comes to determining what the appropriate settings should be for various shots. As a vlogging camera, it also has a very good, or pretty good, onboard mic, and it also has a mic jack, so you can use an external mic, so you can plug in a lavalier mic, or you can plug in a receiver for some sort of Bluetooth mic. So very easy to use. It turns itself on when you open up the screen. Okay, so it's got a flip out screen for selfie mode. So that then folds back and you have full access to the rear menu. So the downsides to the ZV-1 are that it has a pretty short battery life. I find that I only get about 30 to 40 minutes of shooting video per battery. That's, I guess, easily solved by having multiple batteries, and so I have about 4. But if you're traveling, you do find then that you are spending your evenings charging up your batteries, switching them in and out of chargers to get a full charge for your 4 batteries for the next day. It's got a 24mm focal length at its closest setting. That means if you're in sort of selfie mode, your face is filling up the frame pretty fully. So it crops you fairly closely. The other disadvantage is it has fairly poor stabilization. So I found when I first used it, I went out, I wasn't really thinking about stability of footage, and when I came home, most of my footage was unusable. It was just too shaky. Now, it does have onboard what's called active stabilization, which is essentially electronic stabilization, and that works okay, but it does crop in the frame even further. So I used the ZV-1 here for my first few videos. My first video was a tour of Melbourne for cruise ship visitors, and I shot all of that on the ZV-1. Now, to deal with the stabilization issue, I bought a gimbal. I bought this Zhiyun Crane M2 gimbal, and the camera just fits onto it. Well, I say it just fits onto it. That's one of the downsides of the gimbal, is that you have to balance the camera, get the settings right so that it's perfectly balanced in the gimbal, and that's not the easiest process. So the gimbal certainly solved the stabilization issue, but it's fairly large and it's not that easy to carry around. Now, I did take the gimbal with me when we went to California, our first trip after the borders opened. We went to California and did a California coastal cruise on the Majestic Princess. So those videos were all shot with the ZV-1 on the gimbal. I decided after that trip, particularly for overseas trips, it's not really practical to throw this in your suitcase everywhere you go. So the next step was just to get a small tripod, and the ZV-1 has a 1/4-inch socket at the bottom, and you can just screw on the tripod, and that gave me, well, first of all, it gave me some additional, sorry, I'll get that in shot, gave me some additional focal length, okay, but I also found that I could hold the camera more steadily with the little tripod, with the little hand grip. Now, the ZV-1, if you buy it new, you can get a creator pack that comes with a hand grip with a Bluetooth connection. I didn't get that. It was about $150 extra. In hindsight, maybe I should have. But I've got this little tripod for $40, and apart from the Bluetooth connection, which means I can't turn the camera on and off from the grip, I have to actually physically turn it on. But apart from that, the hand grip does the job. So that enabled me to get more stable footage with the ZV-1, but still not perfectly stable footage. I did also find that I could do some stabilization in DaVinci Resolve, so I could stabilize some of the shots that I've taken in post-production, which helped as well. So I used the ZV-1 without the gimbal for the Oceania Riviera videos that we did in June 2023, a couple of months after the Majestic Princess videos where I had taken the gimbal with me. Nevertheless, I was one day watching someone else's videos and I thought, gee, that's really stable footage. How do they do that? And I actually put a comment on their video and said, what camera are you using? And they told me they were using the DJI Pocket 2. So I went out and researched the DJI Pocket 2. Now, it was coming to near the end of its life cycle, its product life cycle. I knew there was a new version coming out, but I went and bought one secondhand. I got one on Facebook Marketplace for probably 50%, maybe even less than 50% of the new retail price. The person had only had it a year, they'd barely used it, which often happens with cameras. Quite often they're gifts. People get given something like this and use it once or twice. So you can easily pick up all of this equipment that I'm showing you secondhand. So I got the DJI Pocket 2. It turns on very simple with the click of a button, and it is a small camera with its own gimbal. You can face it forward, and with the click of a button, you can turn it around into selfie mode. So the DJI Pocket 2 is a very easy camera to use, very easy also to hold. The ergonomics are great. And it shoots very good quality video. It'll shoot in 4K. I tend to shoot everything in 1080. It's got a number of different gimbal modes depending on what sort of effect you want to get and whether you want to keep the horizon stable or whether you want it fixed on a particular object. I'm still getting used to it, still getting my head around the various features that it has, but it's a very effective little camera. Now, it came with what's called the Creator Combo, which included a cover. Now, I lost the cover, and I know where I lost it because I caught it on video. I lost it at Melbourne Airport. I have to say, it is a premium economy experience. Certainly just a step. But it came with a cover. It also came with this little microphone. Okay, so it's a Bluetooth microphone, connects via this extension handle here, which I always have connected, and that gives pretty good quality sound. The little dead cat's there to reduce wind noise and popping from your voice. And you've probably noticed me on some of my videos, particularly on aeroplanes when there's a lot of ambient noise, I'll tend to use the little microphone. I do have to remember not to put it in front of my face or block my face. So if you've been watching my videos, you'll probably know I've made that mistake once or twice. It's not so good in some rooms, such as the one I'm in. This room has a lot of echo, and that's why I'm using the Shure SM58 microphone, because using this microphone, when I tested it, it sounded very echoey and terrible. So the DJI Pocket 1s are proven to be amazingly robust. I lost the cover, the protective cover. The mechanism looks fairly delicate, but I've just been throwing this into my bag and throwing it into my pocket, and so far I haven't broken it. So it's since been superseded by the DJI Pocket 3, which has some new improvements, and so that's quite appealing. But so long as this one's still working, and I'm still actually working out how to use it and some of the features, so I'm not fully utilising the capability of this camera. Until I break this, I think I'll stick with the DJI Pocket 2. Unlike the ZV-1, it doesn't have a changeable battery. It's got an inbuilt battery, but the battery life's pretty good and it recharges in about an hour. So I can recharge it on a flight. If I'm doing a video on the flight, the flight might be 13 hours. I don't need to worry so much about the camera running out of power because I can usually just recharge it in the seat. Most flights these days have in-seat power. Compared to the ZV-1, it does have a smaller sensor, which means it's not as good in low light. It's pretty good. It's just not as good in low light shots. So I still use the ZV-1. If I'm traveling for holidays, I'll generally take both and use the ZV-1 for low light shots. If I'm just traveling for work, which is quite often what I'm doing when I'm doing my flight reviews and hotel reviews, then I'll just throw in the DJI Pocket 2. And I'll take my iPhone as well, which I'll talk about in a little while. I guess the other disadvantage is it has a fairly small screen. I'll just turn it on again. Okay, so it's on. And so that's the size of the screen. It's in centimetres, probably about 2 centimetres by 1.5 centimetres. It's okay. You can frame your shot, but it's not great when you're trying to watch your footage back again. Unlike the ZV-1, which has the full sort of 2-inch screen on the rear. So that's a bit of a disadvantage of the Pocket 2 compared to the ZV-1. The other thing is it came with this rather silly little tripod. So this is a tripod. On the bottom of the Pocket 2, there's a little, 1/4-inch jack. So that should just screw in like that. And so, I set it up like so. You can see it's not the best tripod. Also, a couple of times when I went through security at the airport, my bag was rejected because in the X-ray, this looks like some sort of Swiss Army pocket knife. So I stopped taking it with me because of that. And you can actually use the same little tripod because of the 1/4-inch connection. You can use that same tripod with the DJI Pocket 2. So that's what I use. So I used the DJI Pocket 2 for all of the videos I did for the Ovation of the Seas Trans-Pacific cruise in 2023, April 2023. I took the ZV-1 as well and used that for various time-lapse shots and also just as a B-roll. When I'm on holidays, Stuart's with me, so there's two of us, so quite often we'll both be shooting video or one of us will be shooting stills as well. So there's no harm having a couple of cameras. So the DJI Pocket 2 is probably my primary vlogging camera at the moment. So it has been superseded by the DJI Pocket 3. The improvements there are a larger sensor. So the Pocket 3 is better in low light than the Pocket 2. And it also has a larger screen. The unit itself is larger because of those factors. But it's still the Pocket 3 is still a pretty small camera. So eventually I will upgrade to a Pocket 3, but I just feel like I can get a bit more use out of this unit before I do. Now my newest bit of kit is actually what I'm filming this video on, and that is my iPhone 15. Now, historically, I tend not to have used iPhones as cameras. I've just never found the ergonomics suit me very well. I have a lot of trouble taking a selfie with an iPhone. My previous iPhone was an iPhone 8, so I went from an 8 to a 15, so a pretty big jump in capability. And one thing I found with the iPhone 15 is it has a wide-angle lens. And the wide-angle lens is great for doing for lots of things, but one thing it's been good for is just interior shots of hotel rooms or interior shots of aeroplanes. You get that sort of full view of the room within the shot, where just a sort of a standard 24mm lens, it's fairly narrow. Obviously, the other great advantage of the iPhone 15 is you tend to always have it with you. So even if you go out and you're not thinking about shooting video, if you change your mind, you generally always have your iPhone with you. And that's exactly what happened in Seoul a couple of weeks ago. I went out for the day. I wasn't actually planning on shooting a video, but then I changed my mind. And all I had with me was the iPhone 15. So my 4 hours in Seoul or a day in Seoul video was shot entirely on the iPhone. So the iPhone produces, great video, great photos. It also has a pretty decent onboard mic, although once again, not good in this particular situation. I'm in this very echoey room. This is recording with the iPhone mic, so I'll let you hear what it sounds like on the iPhone mic now. And that's why I'm using this SM58. It picks up sound much closer to the microphone. But clearly, I can't carry this around with me when I'm vlogging. So I'm reliant on the various onboard mics or radio mics when I'm out traveling. So the iPhone is a great piece of equipment. The one downside, particularly when I'm on holidays, is that if you're using an iPhone out when you're on holidays, you're quite often in tourist hotspots, and I can't afford for my iPhone to be stolen. I do everything on my phone. You do your banking, you've got Apple Pay, you've got all your communications, you've got access to all sorts of apps which have lots of information. Now, obviously, you've got your various passwords and facial recognition and different security levels. But if you lose your iPhone when you're traveling, you're going to lose a day or two just sorting that out, getting police reports for insurance and so on, and changing all your passwords. So you want to reduce the probability of that happening. Now, if you are using your iPhone as your primary camera, it means it's going to be out and up in your hand a lot. And if you're in London or Barcelona or Paris or Rome, at the tourist hotspots of Los Ramblas and the Eiffel Tower and around the Colosseum, they are hotspots for phones being stolen. So basically, if possible, we leave our phones with our passports in the hotel safe. So whilst the iPhone is a great piece of equipment, because of its multifunctionality and because of my dependence on the iPhone, I choose not to use it as a primary piece of vlogging equipment when I'm traveling. Sure, if I'm out and about and I've got it and I don't have any other cameras with me, I'll use it because it's a very effective piece of equipment. But I just can't afford to lose it. So I tend to rely on these other cameras. If I lose one of these other cameras, Very sad. Maybe I can claim it on insurance, but it's not the end of the world. All I've lost is my camera and possibly, the footage on it since I last took the card out and backed it up. So I tend not to use the iPhone for vlogging or for photos, which brings me to my final piece of equipment, which is this camera here. This is a Sony RX100, but this is the Sony RX100 version 1. This is 10 years old. And I bought this camera for photography, and it is an amazing camera for photos. Even 10 years later, it's just great for photographs. Terrible for video. It's got very limited video capability at all. And it's 10 years old. It's very robust. It's made of metal, whereas the ZV-1's made of plastic. Okay, so whilst the internal components might be drawn from the parts bin of the RX100, the case of the RX100 is much more robust than the ZV-1. And so we take this with us, and this is our primary photo just for getting stills. So I might be doing the video and Stu might be doing the stills when we're out and about on holidays. Which really brings me to my final point. If you've lasted this long in this video, maybe you are thinking of doing a bit of YouTubing, and if you're like me, you jump onto YouTube and think, well, what's everyone using? What equipment do I need? And a lot of photographers say that the best camera is the one you have with you, whatever it is. And so my first piece of advice would be to not buy anything, but look at what you own. And obviously the first thing you own is probably an iPhone or similar, some sort of phone. Look at the video capability of the iPhone. You've got that risk of losing it, but just perhaps have a go at making some videos with your iPhone. Look at any other cameras that you've got. Not all cameras that are built for still photography are also good for video. That's definitely a caveat. But the other thing is, don't necessarily go out and buy the latest and greatest. The camera manufacturers are always producing new versions and new iterations. So a lot of people turn their cameras over fairly quickly. Now, the ZV-1 has been superseded. So this is the Mark I ZV-1. It's been superseded with a camera that has a 20mm focal length as opposed to a 24mm focal length. So deals with that framing issue. But what that means is you can probably pick up a ZV-1 Mark I on Marketplace for half price. It might only be a year or two old. So you don't need the latest equipment to be a vlogger. Now, all of these cameras comfortably fit in this little traveling case that I've got. So just a little case, and I can get the RX100, the ZV-1, and my Pocket 2, and the microphone very easily fits in this little case, which also any cables, SD cards, and so on. So my camera kit, pretty much I can carry with me in this case here. Obviously, I take the tripod as well. I do also take a full-size tripod with me for time-lapse photography, so I can just set up the camera on the tripod and go away. But basically, that's it in terms of camera kit. I can put it in this case, and then in turn, I can throw the case in this little backpack. It's not sponsored by Nike, and I can wear that over my shoulder, and that's my carry-on luggage for the trip. So ease of use and portability is also a key if you want to be a vlogger. I can't be bothered carrying around giant camera bags full of different lenses and different cameras. So a couple of compact cameras is all that I want to do my vlogging with. Okay, so thanks for lasting that long with me. So we're very excited. We're going away in a couple of weeks on a trip. We're flying Singapore Airlines Premium Economy to London from Melbourne here. So I'll certainly do a video on Singapore Airlines Premium Economy, having done business and economy videos over the last 12 months with SQ. Flying to London, doing a bit of driving around southern UK, and then we're getting on a ship out of Southampton, the Cunard Queen Anne, the new ship's only a few weeks old, doing a Norwegian fjords cruise. So there'll be some videos of the Norwegian fjords. Then after that cruise, we'll be getting the Eurostar to Paris and then down to the south of France. We're a bit more self-driving around the south of France. And then on to Barcelona, where we get on another ship. We're getting on the Celebrity Equinox, doing a med cruise across to Rome. So quite a few more videos to come there. Thank you very much for all my regular viewers. In particular, thank you very much to my subscribers. I've got over 1,700 subscribers now, which I think is amazing. Please continue to like my videos and please comment. I'd really like to hear what equipment you use or any questions you might have about camera equipment or technique or whatever. I'm certainly not presenting myself as an expert videographer. I'm very much on a learning curve myself, but I thought I'd share my learning curve with those who might be interested. So thanks for watching. Like I say, please like and subscribe and please comment and have a good day.